We'll be right back after this important word.
A joint. Ever had one? It really sets you up, especially at breakfast time. That lovely mild flavor. Gets you up quicker than anything, that does. Up and away. A good joint sends you off to a flying start. Puts you way out ahead of the rest of the crowd all day. Gives you energy to keep you going. Joints. Grab a basket and nip along to the grocer's.
Hey, welcome to Operation Grow Show, Season 5, Episode 22. Hey, there we go. Remembered it this time, first time around. I'm going to go and check it out, although just typed it in 2 seconds ago. So, hopefully that's good. I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope everybody's, enjoying what seems to be, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, what's certainly becoming nicer weather, warmer weather, etc. And yeah, today's show is going to be just a general chat, hangout. We cover couple of topics as they come up, but it's good to have Lefty on the show again this week. Hey, we haven't had you on for a while, buddy, but I know you've been busy with greenhouses and all sorts of things, and good to have Gunja Grow. We'll stick with that. Mr. GoPro himself in the waves back there. How you doing, sir? And GMF. So yeah, Lefty, how you doing, buddy? How you keeping?
I'm doing all right, man. Like you said, I've been extremely busy, and just life throws you curveballs all the time. So yeah, I've just been busy trying to keep up with things, and I think I got the greenhouse wrapped up, just waiting on my exhaust fans, man. Other than that, I put the door on today, and I think I got that bitch done. But yeah, I'm gonna plan out my hemp starts that I got going a few weeks ago, and a couple other things, and so me and my wife are gonna be planting up the greenhouse tonight when it cools off a little bit.
Nice. How big? Remind us what size is that greenhouse again? It's pretty decent size, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 20 feet by 60 feet, and it's the Gothic style, so it kind of comes a little bit to a point, and it's 12 feet at the peak. So I'm gonna be running all my hemp plants down the center bed. I put 3 5-foot wide beds in there. So
nice.
Yeah,
Need to keep an eye on the environment in there, I believe.
Yeah,
We'll have to have a chat.
I didn't go crazy yet. I'm just kind of getting started, but I didn't go super beginner either. I got these really slick fans. They're called V-Flow fans, and what they are is it's just like a 24-inch standard fan that hangs upside down, and it basically sucks air from the floor up through it, and it has a diverter on the top, and it throws that air back down to the floor, so it's pulling up and throwing it back down along the walls, so you don't get any hot spots in the ceiling and shit like that. And then I have actual exhaust fans that pull air from one end to the other with louvers and stuff. So that's all temperature and humidity controlled, the exhaust fans. And then if I can get Wi-Fi out there, I'm working on some new Comcast digital cable. At some point, they're supposed to fix that. But anyways, hopefully you can get some Wi-Fi out there and can get some actual monitoring going on.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Really cool.
It would be interesting from a data collection point in terms of outdoors in the greenhouses as well. Just this, again, a lot more of what you're doing there. There's not a lot you can do in terms of controlling stuff. It's more about monitoring it and understanding what's about to happen or what's going on, so you can go in there and take the correct preventative measures that you need to be taking. Okay, I can't necessarily dump the humidity in a hoop house, or even in a greenhouse. It's difficult to dump the humidity. So it's just deal with it. The heat stress. What are you going to do? Things like that. It's all that kind of monitoring becomes more important. Yeah.
Especially here, because I'm in Central Virginia, so it's with hemp. It's it's hot. It's humid. And you can only cool it off so much unless you get crazy and get evaporative coolers and shit that go in your greenhouse. But then you're getting a little silly.
And then your humidity cranks up through the roof.
Right.
I mean, I was speaking with those. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, man.
No. I was just saying, there's only, like you're saying, there's only so much you can really do with a greenhouse. So it's just about airflow. I'm just worried about airflow, and that's all you can really control is airflow.
Yeah. And then, it's there for when you're trying to understand what actions you're going to need to take to try and mitigate it as much as you can. At the end of the day, that makes the big thing. I was chatting with the guy down this lot down in Florida, and they're growing in 90% humidity and extreme temperatures, and their whole thing is, you've just got to figure out, okay, what am I going to do for the heat stress? How do I make sure that keep airflow moving around everything? And that's kind of how you just have to deal with it. I mean, he originally came from LA, and he was like, when they told me this is how we're growing, he went like, you can't do that. And then he got there and I was like, well, actually, yeah, I guess you can. There's proof right there that it can be done. So
have you got a chance to chat with them kind of about what their strategies are? I mean, are they like, using a lot of like silica and, like potassium to really build up the plants structure wise and, their cell walls and stuff like that?
Haven't really got into that. I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, that's what I'd like to have as a topic, get them on and have that as a discussion with them and see what their strategies are. And also the strains that they go for, is anything specifically that they look at. I think where they're going, they're like, I actually think you probably find they do a lot of autos potentially. But yeah. So Chris, how you doing, buddy? Sorry, Ganj Grower. What all the cool kids are calling you.
Cheers. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Lefty. Nice to see you again, man.
Hey, good
Thanks,
to see
Pete.
you again.
Yeah, how things keeping there?
All good here. Just getting. I basically gotta get my ass in gear and flower some Starstruck right about now. I've got. They're just getting fucking huge, and they should have been in flower a month ago. But I had some problems with some just the male sex testing and shit like that was backed up, so my seedlings were backed up. But yeah, like summertime, I don't sweat it as much as well here because, like you guys are talking about, Lefty, I don't know how you do it in Virginia, man, because that's like hotter and more humid than here. But summers can be a real pain in the ass indoors, outdoors as well, I'm sure. But like the indoor thing is just, it's not even worth it sometimes. You're better off just switching outside.
Yeah. You got the luxury. And then, of course, but at the same time, then you really are a slave to the outside. Hey, yeah, if it decides it's going to now piss it down for the next 6 weeks, well, hey, everything's getting a good wash at the end of the day. And sort of what size sort of space are you growing in, Chris?
I'm the 3x3 master. Everything's 3x3s for indoor. Outdoor, I just do a couple, free that I can basically in pots that I can move. I have tried to put them in the ground, and I'm just too close to too many bars and restaurants to actually get away with it without some drunk buffoon ended up in my tree.
Yeah, I know what that is. That tree smells like my uncle's cologne.
I did that one year. The thing was like 13 foot. After the tree got struck by lightning that was shadowing them, they got a lot more light, and the thing just blew up that year. And you could see it from the nearest bar. Like, so people were coming to visit.
I don't like if you see that movie Saving Grace, where it's like an English countryside and they're growing weed, but they discovered like, okay, their plants need so much light, and they figure, well, if we just give them all the light they need in like a 5-minute window, we're good. Yeah. And you see like there's a scene where they're at this pub where they're all like, everybody at the pub starts looking at their watch, and then they all sort of wander outside, and as this grow-up's light comes on briefly, there's just this beam of light coming in the sky. Like, whoa. Yeah, it's really good. It's a good movie. It's worth watching. Saving Grace. Yeah, it's pretty damn funny. And GMF, how you doing, bud?
Man, can't complain. I've been busy, so that's a good thing. It's kind of a celebratory day. Usually don't smoke joints and stuff like that, but today I'm going to roll up a joint of the weed I've been fermenting. So that ought to be a lot of fun. We'll see how that comes out. So yeah, it's not often you get to celebrate the first of a national holiday. I don't know if anybody doesn't know, today is the first national holiday of Juneteenth. It's been celebrated in other places, but today is the first national holiday. It was just signed this week. So it's a pretty momentous day. Yeah, you get to celebrate the first of a national holiday. So I am going to try to celebrate properly with a fermented joint, kind of a nod to all the people that made a lot of the stuff that we do possible by, keeping these strains and stuff like that alive over the years. So today I'll try to stick to smoking their kind of techniques. Just pulled a bunch more weed out of ferment. So, there's a lot of stuff to celebrate with Juneteenth. If anybody's curious, I did an IG post on it. Just really quick, in case anybody doesn't know, it celebrates when the actual last African Americans were, technically freed under slavery, simply because, the Emancipation Proclamation happened, went into effect on June 1st, 1863, but it wasn't until, January 1st. And then, the Civil War was signed at Appomattox Courthouse April 9th, 1865, but it wasn't until 7,000 African American troops, along with General, I think his name was Gordon Granger, showed up in Galveston, Texas, and enforced General Order Number 3, and actually freed the people that were in bondage in Texas after the war, simply because Texas had become kind of the last bastion of slaveholding. People got farther and farther away from the Union. And so that was the last place they had to literally send 7,000 troops and force people to be free. So June 19th is kind of it's a new national holiday.
It's got a little bit more cred than Columbus Day, you're saying?
Yeah, it was, actually freedom for some people. So, it's going to be, going forward, it's something that'll be a national holiday. Banks will recognize it and the government will recognize it. So it's at least acknowledgement for what happened. So it's kind of cool, man. And we get to be the first people to celebrate it. So, I intend to, at least do my part and, at least remember properly, at least, the people that suffered for all the things that got us where we are today. So thank you to all those previous generations that got us here. We stand on your shoulders.
Nice.
Are we going to get another day off?
Well, it's on a Saturday. I don't think that works. If that happened here, if it was a public holiday here and it landed on a Saturday, you get the Monday or the Friday off. It's like they'd have a
in the future. That's how it'll work.
In their hands.
Yeah, it'll be probably that's how it'll work. It's June 19th, so it'll be whatever day June 19th falls on. But just neat. You never really get to see the first of a national holiday, at least not often. I don't remember it in my lifetime, really. But so it's kind of cool.
So, Lefty, how's your seed population going there? How's your cross? Well, what a time to ask, just as he takes a hit. Perfect timing.
Actually, you got me in like mid-lighter.
I'm going to ask you every time, just as you're about to hit it, I'm going to ask you a question.
I'm still collecting my seeds, to be honest with you. I'm doing a run right now, and then I'm going to pop the F1s on my next round and start looking through them to see what I got, and kind of start looking at things to make a selection from there. But yeah, just with timing and everything, I decided to do a run in between, just because I had a few more plants to trim up. So it was taking a while. So I decided to do another run. But the plant that I actually, really heavily pollinated, just whipped that male all over. It was about 50-50, really good mature seeds, dark, tiger striped, your typical mature seed. And I had about half white ones. Mm-hmm. So I think just from being so pollinated, I didn't get as many quality seeds as what I would have if I would have just, put it in the room and left it alone, because everything else got pollinated and everything else has got, 90% really good mature seeds and not nearly the amount of the white ones. So, yeah, I learned a little something on that, and I have plenty of seeds. So I will definitely be sending out seeds to the Patreon members. And I believe what I'm going to do is I had 4 phenos in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the 4 phenos together. And those are going to be my packs to go out to the Patreon members. Because for one, they have not been tested. They have not been germed yet. So they're going to learn what I learned when they pop them. But yeah, this is nowhere near the end of the project. This is actually probably going to end up being a reversal back cross project. So I got 3 more steps to go. So yeah, I'm just going to send out, the 3 or 4 phenos that I have. And yeah, they're all pretty similar. I mean, I used an F3 banana OG. They're all, I believe I had 5 females and 4 of them were almost identical. And then there was one that was a little bit different. But structurally, smell, everything. They were almost identical. So yeah, I'm just gonna mix them up, and you know, it'll be a bit heavier pack than a 10 pack. So yeah, there'll be some seeds to do a good pheno hunt through there.
Nice, that's way out. Thanks. I just popped the link up there in chat for Patreon page. And yeah, the mystery grow as well. So the way we really want to try and do this is just to keep things simple. Is for everybody in Europe, it will be people taking part from the European, involved in the European side. So the mystery grower, and I know there's a couple of others potentially who are still doing this in the background. So from that side, we'll do what's being grown there, and then for US and for Canada, let's keep from the show who are in those areas. It's their seeds that will go out to those people, and it's on the $5 Patreon one. And then each time there's new batches of seeds from the next generation ready and available, then they'll go out to those Patreons as well. So you should be hopefully be a number of seed drops throughout the year. But you think at the end of the day, $60 a year for 10 pack of seeds plus something that could be rather interesting, could be good bargain, and a nice way to support the show too, and everybody taking part. So that'd be, feels a bit cheesy saying that, but yeah, it'd be most appreciated. But yeah, then like on that, speaking of the F1s and that from the project, I know that we've got some pictures for the mystery growers F1s of that K4L crossed with the Afghan Kush. If I can figure out how to share this damn thing now. What are the special needs? Talk amongst yourselves. I know, here we go, got it. So I know they've just popped 10 seeds from this cross. From what I gather, none of them look like the mom plant, which is what these are. The males from these are going to be crossed back with the mom to try and produce a seed line of that mom. That mom is a cut only, and so it'll just be a continuous back cross. But one thing that has come up is one of these where there's it's quite interesting. Nothing else. It's actual, what's it, variegation of the leaves, and only this one has it out of the 10 so far. That'd be quite interesting to see how much of that trait carries on. I mean, there is a bit of a difference between these. Let's skip through those. Oh, this one's. It's number 6, not number 9. That one looks quite nice, actually. It's got some really broad leaves. Spades. That one, from what I understand, is the closest in leaf structure to leaf morphology to the mother. That one looks a bit spindly. And some of them are like really, some of them are definitely like cross shaped. Others are very linear, like almost growing. They don't seem to want to be doing diagonal to each other. It's looking a little weak. Yeah, and that's it. I think that's all 10. Yeah. Not great deal of variety, which is also interesting, but given the 2 parents, there should actually be quite a lot of overlap in some of the background lineage, but certainly nothing particularly freaky showing up. And that variegation is not the genetics. That's more it's gotten nailed with something like a viral. I mean, it depends. Again, I think you get different versions of it. Sometimes it's a viral infection, but it's not one that can be transmitted from plant to plant. It's just there, and it'll now propagate with that plant. Its seeds are likely to have it and continue it on. It's not necessarily a genetic trait.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of variance, it looked like, in a little bit of the leaf structure. It looked like you had a little bit longer, thinner on just like one of the plants.
Yeah, just that one. And that's the one, yeah, the one that looks closest to the mom. It's got slightly thinner leaves all of a sudden. It's a bit more of the sativa sort of coming
Right.
through on that one. I say the sativa, the more equatorial trait coming through on that one.
Right. Yeah, the other ones definitely look more like the Afghani side with that real short, wide leaf like that.
It'll also be interesting to see if any of them pick up on the purple. That's going to be interesting to see if that comes through. It's definitely noticeable in that Afghan lineage from that particular pack of seeds.
It's been pretty interesting. Actually, this last run, I ran some seeds I made about a year and a half ago, and it was a cross of Putang by TK and all 5 Haze, and that Putang was, it's super tangy smelling. It was like really super dark purple, almost black. It just, I don't know, it just really wasn't all that potent to me. So I crossed it by that TKNL 5 Haze just to add a little potency, and I've been popping those seeds, and I had like, I don't know, 4 or 5 phenos of it, and one of the 5 phenos was like super dark purple. The other ones would like have purple, a little bit of purple like swirls in them here or there and stuff like that, and the rest of them were like just green. So it's just interesting going through those and seeing the variance in them, and yeah, it's kind of cool. It's the first time I've really gone through my own seeds like that. Well, probably the second time I've gone through them, but just seeing all those variances and what comes out and what, and the smells with the colors and how everything is mixing and matching. It's like all 5 of them are completely different.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I could, like with the plant, with the purpling in that latter stage, like that fall colors kicking in and the plant starts to senesce at that stage. I mean, you can really, I've been playing around with that near infrared spectrum stuff, looking at plants through at the near infrared, and actually that really shows it up, because as all the chlorophyll gets pulled out of the leaves, as it breaks it all down and starts, the leaves stop photosynthesizing, you see it. You're just watching all the leaves stop doing it. It's quite incredible. I mean, as a tool for being able to understand when your plant has hit that stage, it's really, really handy. Right. I guess even for home growers, it could become quite useful for something like that. So what I'm talking about is,
Yep.
The stuff that is red is where the plant is not photosynthesizing so well, so it's more absorbing infrared rather than reflecting it back, which everything that's happily photosynthesizing is doing just that, which is what all the green is. So it's time lapse, and this is that kush that turned really purple, and you can see it starting to happen. I know I moved it around a bit so it doesn't keep it, and there is. It just suddenly goes, and the whole thing just goes bright red. And this is when it was going like, yeah, these were, from what I was told, these were like purple buds as well. I mean, they're just completely gone now. And at this stage, if you actually look at them, most of the leaves have yellowed out or have gone dark purple. So when you stick this high up in the ceiling, you can see a lot more. And there's one left next to one that isn't. And you can see how much it stands out from the plants around. Oh, that was only there for a really brief time. But yeah, you can see all the bud sites because they don't necessarily photosynthesize. Well, they're reflecting so much infrared or absorbing it from the pistils in that. It's not completely different signature. But yeah, if you looked at this plant, all those leaves are yellow. They're all gone, and it's really obvious. I mean, under this, it's really obvious. This was also when you can see quite easily to the naked eye. But yeah, like that, like in a greenhouse scenario, these are one of the things where it's handy because you stick it up in the ceiling, It overlooks everything, and it's just your eye in the sky. It can see the plant at the back that you can't see when you're walking up and down.
Yeah, you know, I think a side by side to see the camera with regular and then with that near red would be helpful too, just to see the senescence in the actual plant versus that angle. That's pretty cool how you can see the ripening. It's amazing.
And I was thinking if you put in there a volatile compound sensor, so VOC,
Yep,
volatile organic compound sensor, you put that in there and you'd be able to tell when the terpenes really kicked in, because the count
when you're losing them.
Yeah, exactly. That would like spike and you'd go, whoa, that's the temperature just got too warm in there or something. I'd love to track that data through a grow to see when those happen, because does it go through certain points where it produces more terpenes? And then you could link it to environmental control. When we say it's certainly expelled more terpenes.
Now, what do you think about? So I have a friend who's adamant that putting a carbon filter in his tent would rob his tent of terpenes just because of the natural charge of the carb of the.
If it's in the air,
filter.
it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule of thumb is if you
Once
can
it gets
smell
in the
it,
air, it doesn't matter.
you can smell it, it's gone. Because the only reason why you're smelling it is because it's no longer on the plant.
That's one of the basics we teach in fermentation. If you're doing a ferment, whatever you smell, that's not going to be present afterward. So if you get a sulfurous odor, if you get these different compounds that are off-gassing, or sometimes it's favorable. Sometimes you'll notice fruit flavors escaping, things like that. And that really will be a hint to you to modify your process to try to retain them in beverage making.
Yeah. I mean, that's often that's that one thing everybody goes, oh, I run CO2, so I run it really hot in there. It's like, you're going to get a lot of bulk. But that's all, I think if you're farming for terpenes, then you're going to be looking at doing things cooler rather than warmer. Then you're going to definitely retain a much better terpene profile. And then do different kind of plant stressing the plant out in different ways to get it to produce different terpenes as a response to that stress without them all burning off.
So are you suggesting temperatures in the mid 70s versus this 82 that everybody's striving for to keep for LED growers? They want the 82 so that your leaf surface temperature is at optimal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what left to go for it.
Doesn't that also have to do with your nutrient uptake too? With LEDs, isn't there something with the way the light spectrum works and having to be almost at like that 80-degree mark for ideal nutrient uptake?
That's to get the whole process, because like 22, 25 degrees, well, that 22 to 27, I guess probably that band is like in degrees Celsius. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, unfortunately, is like the optimal temperature at which for the chemical process of photosynthesis to take place, which is then also your optimal transpiration sort of temperature. So when you've got VPD and all of that dialed in, the plant's really engines running at full tilt. It's transpiring properly. It's pulling up all the nutrients properly. But because you have to heat the room up, because the lights aren't heating the leaves up to get them to transpire at that temperature, you got to bring the whole room up to that temperature instead.
Right.
It's like that core difference there. But yeah, I mean, I think, if you could run the room a little bit, yeah. I don't know. I some of the tastiest stuff I've sampled was definitely grown in slightly cooler temperatures.
Yeah. And it's so complicated when you talk about heating or dehumidification or everything. There's such a variance in equipment. Like some people have radiator heaters, some people have forced hot air, some people got a fucking little space heater, one of those quartz little heaters, the Polonus, which actually give off light themselves. Other people have the radiator style, which I think is more preferred in a grow. I think you should probably go radiator if you have to do that. But
Yeah.
there's all the equipment, fans, everything. It's such a variance that it's tough to even say one is better than the other. Because I think if you had like steam heat, the old forced steam, I think is awesome.
But what where they used to push it, where they push it through copper pipes, and that heats the room.
Yeah, the old style radiators, that old,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, if they convert it to newly and it's balanced system, it's actually makes a great lung room. Not, you know, not a grow room, but it's definitely, you know, that hydronic, any way you can capture hot water is
I mean, it's definitely one of those things. Like
nice.
the two things to, yeah, when it comes to heat in the room, because you either can have wet heat or dry heat, and you've got to pick which one of those you're trying to use. Like, don't, if you're suffering from like humidity problems, don't use a natural gas burner to produce the heat, because that's just filling the room with moisture at the same time, and it'll, you know, your humidity will spike. So yeah, electrical heaters or radiators, things that radiate heat away rather than it's through the act of burning something. You really don't want to. As soon as you start burning stuff, you're producing moisture.
Hey Pete, going back a second, talking about running at cooler temperatures. To get your VPD right, then you'd have to have a drier environment, correct? If you want
Yeah,
to
you'd
run
bring the
cooler.
humidity down a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just making sure I was thinking about that right in my head.
Well, simply put, your air would have less ability to hold moisture at that lower temperature, correct?
Right.
The same. Well, it can't hold the same volume of water for the same volume of air. A cubic meter of air certainly can only hold half a cubic meter of water as opposed to 2 cubic meters of water. Yeah. Because it becomes denser, the air becomes denser. All the little molecules squish closer together. That space, simply put. I'm going to do the suck eggs thing. That last
Well, and speaking of density and seeded weed, I kind of often wonder if after you clean the seeds out of weed, is it technically got more trichomes on it because you removed all that quote unquote seed volume? I mean, is it technically, we know after talking with our friends like Bob and stuff like that, profile is going to be different post pregnancy, senescence, and all that stuff. But is the density of trichome in a given set of material going to be more simply because you remove the seed material?
I can answer that. I've definitely noticed. So overall, in general, when you look at the buds on the seeded bud, it overall in general, from the looks of it on the outside, it doesn't look like as frosty as, you know, say an unseeded bud of the same cultivar. Just because on the outside, it's like a lot of the seeds are on the outside, so you get a lot of that energy gets used up just making them seeds. But anyways, it's looser. Your buds are a little bit looser. So as you're breaking it up, you notice like on the inside, you have a lot more trichome production on the end, like on more on the insides of the buds, to where when you don't have them seeds and you got that real tight bud, it's just like most of your trichome production is just on the outside of the bud. I broke up a whole plant, the one I pollinated, and most of the trichomes on that plant were on the insides of the buds.
Nice.
But it was really loose. I mean, that plant was had real loose bud structure just because it was so chock full of seeds. But yeah, sticky, ooey gooey. Yeah, like I had finger hash for days breaking up all the seeds out of there. But it didn't look good at all. But I mean, when you started breaking it up, it was just like it had a really oily feel to it. I don't know. Just my experience.
And what was the punch like on a finger hash or like whatever you smoked? What was the punch like on it?
It was super OG. What I've noticed out of this is it's like I'm getting a little tiny bit of banana on the backside, like a little bit of banana on the backside, but it's really super OG. So it's like it's really gassy with a little hint of banana on the back. And that finger hash was just like real gassy. That was nice. That was really good.
Finger looking good.
Things are looking good. It's delicious.
Well, and I've heard so many good things about Arise. This little project of Arise by Everything sounds like a worthwhile project. If you're going to end up with it, there could be gold in them there hills.
So there's two that I'm really excited about. I have a Panama Red Bubba Kush that turned out kind of a purplish color. And it's like, smells like straight Afghani. It smells like my Virginia Beach Afghani is exactly what it smells like almost. And I had that hit by the Arise. And then I also have the Chem 91 got hit by the Arise. So those are two that I think are going to be pretty good by the Arise, because the Arise has got, the Chem in it already. So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, everything by Arise, brother.
They're that kind of like, this could be the one. This could be it. This could be it. Now, do I cross this with this, and then this with this, and then this with this, and then this with this? Shit, how many times do I have to cross something with this one before I'm happy that before I remove it from the list of, no, I don't want to use that, or I put it on the list I want to continue forward with. This is where it needs to be. Like I said, you need to pop it in, get it scanned, get the genetics, and go, all right, now run it through X many simulations to tell me what the potential outcome from this is, if I should continue or not. And just keep going until it goes with like, yeah, this one potentially in 150 generations will give you what you want.
Right. Yeah, I figured that out real quick when I popped those Clayton Bigsby's and started looking at them like, these are all different, every single one.
Yeah. Oh well, it's all part of the fun, all part of the challenge. Yeah, it's what makes it makes us do what we do, I guess.
And the cool part is they all responded different. I kind of put them through their paces. I had them in small pots. The power went out here a couple times, so they got their light cycle messed with a couple times. Just different things. And I ran them a long time. I ran them like an extra probably like 10 to 14 days too long. Just kind of see what they're about. And there was a few of them that, them last probably 10 days, they pushed out a few nanners here and there. And, just seeing the differences. And there's a few of them that were absolutely fine. They took everything that I threw at them. And, then some of them were like, said uncle after a little while. But yeah, it was just cool seeing the differences, when you start playing with stuff and running through it like that.
Yeah. And it is amazing all the differences that you can get all of a sudden. Yeah.
Well, and we can talk all the theoreticals we want. We can show examples, but until you do it a little bit and you get your hands dirty, that kind of changes or makes more real your understanding of it.
Yeah.
You can watch a cooking video, or I can tell you how to do something, but until you get in the kitchen with me and we actually make some food, it's a much different thing to learn.
Moving to the what's going on?
Well, if anybody's interested, I have a little show and tell I can show you guys. I just pulled some wheat out of ferment. It's kind of a big day, so I just pulled out some stuff I'm going to get lab tested. I can kind of show you at least visually how strikingly different they are.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's you should be able to do that.
It's got my camera on if you just want to pin me.
Oh, hang on.
So these are the exact same plant, cut down the exact same time, cut off the exact same thing. One of them, I don't know if it's better to have no light in the background or more light, but what's better?
Yeah, having some light where some light is better than none.
Okay. So you can see this one is gone it stayed kind of a normal green color, nice and frosty. And then the unpressed cob or fermented. So basically it's a cob. I just didn't squish it down in the jar. I left it whole. It's taken on a very uniform dark color. Even the stems have kind of switched color to more of a yellow. So yeah, it's very interesting. And after having talked to Bob and a few other people who work in the professional capacity about the differences in weight that are usually found, they were saying, 20% is what you should expect on average yield from wet weight to dry weight.
Yeah.
30%, if you're doing really well, it can get up to 30% when you dry it. I let these guys dry out quite a bit before I even cut them down. So I ended up with 32% on both sides of the dry weight of the original wet weight. So I cut down 150 grams wet in each of these sets of jars, and it ended up a total of roughly 50 grams for each one. So they're very, very close in how much overall moisture has been removed, but it's just the manner in which they've been treated that's made a difference. So now it's time to hopefully get a couple samples of this stuff tested, and then I'll make some beverages from each of them and see if this one, the ferment, happens to infuse better simply because of the heat treatment versus this guy. So
Yeah. And now are you able to share how you fermented it without squishing the crap out of it?
yeah, it's just about getting it in here and then getting it down to the right temperature. So like the whole different thing about squishing the crap out of it is you're basically making it very uniform. So the temperatures, when it's in the ground, are going to stay fairly uniform. And when it hits a temperature, it's going to stay there. I kind of reverse it. And so I can leave this part loose if I make all the material around it dense. And that's why I go for ferments underwater, because the water is going to maintain a perfect temperature all around it. And it's going to heat the interior of it to the exact temperature and hold it. So that's basically how the process is. By submerging these things under a weight and keeping them submerged the whole time, I'm ensuring complete normalization of temperature throughout.
Yeah, because I know you tried another method as well. So this is just doing it with the heat treatment as the way of doing the fermentation. It's just to lock it in at that temperature.
Exactly.
Nice.
And then just keeping it submerged so it's going to stay a uniform temperature. And this way too, you get the nice pretty crystals on the outside still, stuff like that. So you can still see the crystal structure. So I'm hoping this will make for a little better test for the lab rather than having it all squished together. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Again, that would be interesting to enter into a competition at as I said from the beginning, to enter these fermented cures into a into a competition. That really would. Bag appeal like, and then whoop, smoke appeal like, holy shit, what was that? I think would be the general reaction.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested to see, like, okay, obviously, even whatever the THC percentage is, it really shouldn't matter because it's going to be consistent between the two samples. I'm just really eager to see what kind of comparative analysis we get. What kind of tool is this in our toolbox? Do we even know how to use it? Or does it do nothing? Maybe this will completely disprove the whole thing, and it'll prove that the whole thing is entirely in our heads. It's entirely a mental thing where we think it's going to be different, and it's not. It might
going to be that blind
exactly
test where you've rolled two and hand them over and not tell them what, and then which one. But the problem there is that you've got to smoke one, wait until the effect of that's completely worn off and have nothing else. I mean, you've got to do like a tolerance break beforehand, have it, do another tolerance break, and then have the next one and try and remember how fucked up you got on the last one.
That's why I think
it's an experiment that I keep having to repeat over and over again, man. Isn't that the first sign of sanity, expecting a different result?
Right.
Stoned again. Shit.
But this is really what, honestly, I always sat back to this. This is what political advancement has brought us. The normalization of industry, the availability of testing. Now I actually, because of our state law changes, I can actually go to a company and just say, hey, let's make an above board transaction where you test my homegrown product and tell me how I'm doing. That's awesome. I never would have thought in a million years we'd be at this place. Not rubbing it in, Mr. Grower, wherever you are. So it's a unique experience to even be able to contemplate sending something like this to a lab to get it tested. Because as a brewer, we've been able to do this stuff with colleges and stuff for a long time, but never with this.
Yeah, I'm really keen and curious to see how that pans out. I mean, could you, with the fermentation, I can't remember if we've even discussed this, but would the fermentation work with hash?
Probably.
Do you ferment hash?
I don't see why not. What I did notice is the one time I pulled some very, very early and I had perfectly clear trichomes. I could get good shots of them. I ran it through the ferment and then I took shots of the trichomes and I ended up with these. They went from clear to this golden amber color and it was very uniform on all of them. So
I mean, afterwards, I take like Lefty's temple balls. Could you then ferment those?
And I think you got artificially aging them this way. I think ultimately that's kind of the key that we're unlocking is these steps in treatment could be an artificial aging process. Same thing with like a lot of ciders and meads. People say, oh, mead, you got to let it sit to get better. Not if you understand the chemical processes behind it. You know how to expose it in certain ways. You can artificially push the aging process of beverages. Same thing with alcohol that sits in barrels. If you know how to manipulate the temperatures and whatnot, you can artificially age. So the same, I think, can be done here. We can artificially age weed. We can artificially age hash. We should theoretically be able to have all these tools at our disposal.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And I mean, hey, wonders of science.
Right. Well, this is science we can all be involved in too. This is not science that's, it's kind of like I'm always harping about the brewing industry that home brewers tend to push the new styles and push the new things. And this is, I think, the same thing. We who have things going at home in our own passion projects, or Pete, you with P&L system, it's those passion projects that will innovate next. Big corporations don't innovate. They pick up on those of us doing passion projects and then they rip it off.
Yeah, we'll buy it. It's up for sale. I'm quite happy. Like, yeah, let's talk.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, man. It's like precisely.
You got to care enough to take your time. Like me, I risked, what is it, half the prime tops of my harvest just to ferment them all to make sure I'd get one I could send off to a lab, and But you got to be a little crazy to reap rewards.
See, the high ski just there's a curing gas. No, not a curing gas, but the whole jar is just submerged in the water to keep it all at the same temperature. That being the trick, it's just keeping everything at that uniform, steady temperature. But like trying to figure out if you could ferment the temple balls would be interesting. Lefty.
Hey, let me know, Lefty. We can talk. I'll get you set up. You have your own little fermenting rig. We can try a couple of them. Little
He's like, fuck that
jars.
shit.
No, I've been sitting here actually kind of thinking about it, how you'd go about doing it. You know what I mean with the temperatures and stuff, because you get it up to a certain temperature, it's just going to turn to mush. So yeah, I just I'm sure there's a cold fermentation process as well. So I mean, that's probably kind of what you'd have to do with that, because otherwise your ball would just turn to absolute mush. So
sorry, go ahead.
Well, you could mush it and reform it too. I mean, that's always the other option.
That is what I was thinking, is that going to mush is part of the process, and then it re-solidifies when it cools back down again.
I mean, really, the way that's pressed together, you'd almost have to let that break down anyways to get a full fermentation. Otherwise, everything on the inside of that ball, if it stayed intact, would not get fermented. Just from the pressure that you use to form the temple ball. So, no, I'm curious, man. I'm kind of curious. It's a lot of work and a lot of time to go into it to be fucking with it, but I don't know. Like you said, no risk, no reward, right?
Exactly. How else you gonna know till you try?
Right.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. I'll make
I'm
more.
weird like that. Yeah.
Oh, I thought
I've always
really
made weird
inappropriate joke.
beverages. Yeah, I've made weird beverages and stuff like that all the time just because, well, can't we do it? I don't know. There's only one way to figure it out. So, try it, see what happens. Turns out you can make beers from 100% honey malt. Turns out, it's just a lot of weird stuff. You can make a beer from bread flour. You can make a beer from crackers. You can make a beer from, whatever you find laying around.
I think that's 45 grams.
Wow.
That's a fucking party.
I like overreaction. Wow. Sign me up.
Yeah, it was like
Where do I apply?
22, 24, something like that.
So how much material does it take to produce that on average? Okay, bearing in mind that obviously it differs from source to source. So
Okay, so I use all trim and all larf, just stuff that I don't, stuff that doesn't go in my jars is what I use for all my hash.
mhm.
It was probably 6 ounces of trim. It's
Okay.
like, it's like 3-4 Ziploc freezer bags full.
Mhm, mhm.
All
All right,
that's
so
what I
not
want.
too bad then.
Yeah, and when
Respectable
I
for
just,
stuff you would otherwise not be using, really.
yeah, I mix kind of everything I have together. If I got something that's really, really fruity or I had a good run of something, I'll kind of separate that. Otherwise, I mix everything. I mix my wife's, the 1-to-1 THC CBD strain that I have with everything else, man. And it puts you through a loop. It does.
Mm, mm.
Lefty, how is that 1-to-1 you got? Is that what would you say? Would you say that's in the 7-7 range, or do you think it pushes 10?
It's gonna be cool because I can actually get that checked here before too long. So the two things I used both varied between 7 to 7 to 9 to 9. So hopefully, I'm floating somewhere in that, 7 to 10 range on both sides. I used Harley Who from Homegrown Natural Wonders, and it was an awesome medicine. But the first like 3 or 4 I popped had stability issues, so I couldn't run it with anything else. So I popped a few other things, and I found a really nice male of what was called Tiger Beat, and it's Kandahar Cherry by Stardog. So that was the male that I used, and I used that when the last seed I popped that Harley Who, it was stable. So I hit that with that Tiger Beat, and I made a cross of it, and it's been really, really nice, really good medicine for my wife. I'm really excited to get it tested. But
Right on. Yeah, I'll be curious because there's quite a demand for people looking for that 1-to-1 that pushes the 10 barrier. It's kind of like the Holy Grail right now.
yeah, so hopefully towards the end of summer I'll be able to get it in and get it tested. But yeah, it's really cool. It has a really good like berry cherry smell. It kind of I've seen like a good Stardog pheno where it kind of gets that spirally, top to the top of the bud, almost like a really heavy cone almost.
Yeah.
But there's some big fat chunky round buds that look like the Harley Who. So yeah, I've been kind of going through it, and I've picked out one that I kind of like right now, but yeah, I still got stuff to go through. So yeah, I'm hoping to find something that's up there around, like the 9 to 9, 10 to 10%.
Yep.
Kind of. But yeah, it's a real nice plant, man. A lot of people come over and they're like, "Oh man, that's really nice. Can I have some of that?" And it's just like, "Yeah, go ahead, take it." And they're like, "Oh, it's really nice. Helps me sleep. It helps people really go to sleep and just your body relax." And I've tried it and it made my legs tingle. I smoked a joint. It kind of made my legs tingle. It was kind of different, but yeah,
It
it's
is.
real
It's
tasty.
different buzz. It is definitely a really great pain medicine for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Rasta Bob's looking for it too. Actually, a bunch of people I know have been looking for it, but especially for the older smoker, it's just good medicine, I guess. But yeah, I'll keep in touch with you. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Glad
it's
to know
great.
somebody's looking at that.
Yeah, I kind of went on a mission for a while looking for a bunch of different one-to-ones, that because it's everything, man. I mean, you need a little bit of everything is the way I see it, not just CBD, not just THC. It's everything mixed together. And so I was just looking for stuff that was, had good terpenes. I mean, this stuff smells amazing. It's really berry, really cherry. It's got dark purple phenols in some of it. Gets really super frosty, heavy buds. You kind of get problems. You gotta, you gotta stake it up because it gets nice big buds on it. So they're beautiful plants. It's just a matter of finding the right ones and getting it tested to see if it does have the medicine that you think it has in it.
Mm. Yeah, the interesting test would be to, well, I mean, like on a different tangent, but it would be to start a project of taking a line and just crossing it with every single thing that's out there. Just continue, just keep going. Just every generation cross with another one and another one, so you can add them all together and have one mushy mess that you got a little bit of everything in it. See if we can go back to those originals, but yeah, getting that right level of the different ratios, because that's the one thing. THC you can like eke out of a plant. CBD you got to breed into it. It's not something you can artificially play around with. You've got to be breeding it in.
So wait, do you think CBD doesn't have those same influencers and environment to encourage, increased production? Or we
No,
think it's
you run the
purely a
risk.
genetic code?
You run the yeah, that is the big difference between them. THC is a stress response as well, whereas CBD isn't. CBD is in the it's bred in. You've got to work a line like to keep upping the CBD in it.
And that's what's nice too is I can get that tested and say I am a little short on the CBD and that THC has taken over in that cross. I have hemp plants that I'm running. I can always take a 34-to-1 hemp plant that I have and cross that back into it and get that CBD back into it. You know what I mean? And that's what you're talking about as far as have to actually breeding that back into it. You're not going to gain it back by, taking it down another generation. You're not going to get a higher CBD level. What you're saying is you have to take and put that back in if you're losing
Actually,
it.
they're getting the CBD level up to 12 to 14 in a few of these strains, but they're having trouble keeping the THC level 1-to-1. They always seem to dip below 9. So like as you increase the CBD from above 10, the THC drops down. So I think like some of the best, like Pennywise and Canatonic, they've been messing with those strains for a while, trying to get that. They can get the freaking CBD up 12, 15 even, but the THC keeps dropping off, and it's approaching 5 when you get to 15. So it's like, it's not staying at the 1-to-1. So those are the Pennywise and Canatonic are the two big ones that I know a lot of people that I know have been working with, and those are the infamous strains that have the higher CBD, but they're just not responding well to.
That catch with the THCs. That's the problem. Is that you can take what was almost like a CBD pure strain, and it can eventually become a THC strain. And it's quite weird how it'll do that. It's something that you do have to, and then people get caught out. I mean, it would be interesting with you there, Lefty, of course, would be if doing that testing with the 10-to-1 is taking note of the environment that it was grown in each time, because a less stressful environment would keep, if you find like, this one, it was hot on the THC side, well, let me run it and keep the environment like dead stable, like don't let it fluctuate at all and don't stress the plant, and then see what you get and go, all right, that's back to 1-to-1, and then you can see that, all right, that's how I'm fucking with it.
Or you add one nutritional element to push THC, which I won't name because I don't agree with it, but there is a way to push your THC numbers if you push a certain element late in flower.
But again, yeah, because you can outside influence it to get it hot.
It'll definitely be interesting, like you said, Pete. Just to play with it once I am able to get testing on it. and say, hey, I'm going to do a hot run and see what it does. Hey, I'm going to do a cold run, or I'm going to do a different light light spectrum this time, or because like you said, everything can adjust. Everything can
Yeah.
adjust it. Smaller pot, bigger pot. 15 plants in a room compared to 5 plants in a room, or just all those different things. Nutrients could be huge in that. So it'll be fun, and it'll be a fun test to play with it and just kind of see where the starting point is, and where it might go, or what different phenos might have. Like purple pheno is like straight up dead 10% every time I look at it, 1-to-1, 10% every time, where it's like, oh, this green one's like almost like a 2-to-1, you know what I mean? So it could be interesting just finding out some of that
That would
shit.
be nice. Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, oh, wouldn't that be nice if it was something it locks onto. There's a
Color trait.
a phenotype that you can easily see. They go like, that's it. That would be so nice.
The
Yeah.
purple one, that's the one you're looking for. Yep, the
Yeah.
purple round top one. That's it right there, buddy. You got it, man. Hold on to it. Yep.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah, well, hopefully at some point that technology again will become cheaper and more available, where you can almost just test as you go. Just do a sample, quick chemical analysis, and away you go. Where you're actually testing for chemotype is what you're doing. You're doing chemotype profile. That would become super interesting. And again, that's probably where the whole big corporate side is going to go as well. It's just go down the chemotype. That's all they're interested in. Don't care what it looks like. Don't care what you call it. So long as it produces this chemical profile, that's all we're interested in. And just do that over and over and over and over again. So you're doing it with cherry pie in Florida, and you're doing it with Bubba Kush in LA, but they're both producing the same chemotype because in that environment, that's what those two genotypes do.
Cool.
And on that note, that brings us up to the hour. So if you would like to join us in the after show, please feel free to do so. I'm going to post the link up in chat. Where can everybody find everybody? And hopefully everybody's doing well. Afternoon, not afternoon, after show. Shit. Side is down, things are getting loose. Yeah, Lefty, where can everybody find you, bud?
I'm on Instagram at Lefty's Farm, and pretty much just posting pictures of the seeds I buy lately. Haven't been doing too good posting pictures, but yeah, Lefty's Farm on IG and Lefty's Farm on Cannabis.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for again contributing the seeds towards the Patreon thing. I'll post the link up now again for Patreon. Whoops, and again, it'll be for the US people. The seeds will come from everybody taking part in the US. For everybody in Europe, it'll come from people who are in Europe, and Canada will be from people in Canada. So it just keeps it nice and easy and simple, and we don't have to worry about all this weird and wonderful bullshit going on. And Chris, where can everybody find you, bud?
Cheers, Pete. Yeah. Instagram, Ganja Grower.
Excellent.
Or around YouTube. Cheers.
Good man. And GMF, buddy, where can we find you, sir?
Well, you can usually find me here hanging out with you reprobates, or hanging out in the neighborhood with those reprobates. So always good. We're there every Monday if you guys want to come over and hang out on our show on Monday. Other than that, usually in the kitchen, making something, fermenting something, or in the garden. Genetic Memory Farms on Instagram. If I can be helpful, give me a holler.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining in. And you can find me at Operation Grow 2019 on Instagram, or at PL Grow Systems. And once again, if you want to be in on a chance for this, well, not in on a chance, you'll get the seeds if you sign up to the Patreon. And see you all next week. Feel free to jump in and hang out on the after show. We'll be here for a little while, and it'll be cool. Catch you guys later. Stay safe.